Hold on. I don't know why. I flip this thing every time before I start and it still wants to put it on my ceiling. And of course then it alters the whole orientation of this too. So again, YouTube's doing its all weird things. And give me a second here. I want to actually bring up this video on my laptop. Now I do my pre-recorded videos. I actually do it as an unlisted live. I find that it makes the whole process go a little bit quicker rather than taking individual video clips, putting it together, adding music, speeding it up. Now, even though I like doing the music and all that stuff, I got to kind of figure out how I can incorporate that into doing stuff like this, and even, doing something as an opening credit or something when I go live. So, welcome. This is Carla. Welcome back to the studio. So, this is my Throwback Thursday, and I know there's a little bit of a glare there. This is my Throwback Thursday. This is where I pull out my retired product. I won't bring it down just a little bit. I bring out my retired product, and then I create two projects using whether it's a suite, a bundle, individual stamp set, whatever. So this is Thursday, February 6th. So we're coming up to Valentine's Day. So I decided that, well, now we're going to do some Valentine projects. So one of the things that I was doing, I was actually doing an actual holiday video. So, for example, next week, that Friday is Valentine's Day. So I would have, in the past, I would have done my Friday Night Live, and then I would have done an individual video that was just Valentine projects. And then, of course, there'd be another Throwback Thursday video the day before that. But to save myself a little bit of time, because this is kind of like my side thing, I do work a regular full-time job. So to save me just a little bit of time, I decided holiday videos, I can eliminate those, and I can basically take what I do on a Thursday and a Friday, and I can do that instead. So for this Thursday, I am bringing out the Heart to Heart bundle. So this was a bundle that was in our January to June, excuse me, January to June 2020 mini catalog. And again, it's happened. Hold on one second. It never fails. Every time I go live and I start talking now, I got a scratchy throat. So I apologize. I'm not sick or anything. It's what always happens without fail. So, where was I? So, this is the Heart to Heart bundle. It's the Heart to Heart Photopolymer stamp set, and it's bundled with the detailed hearts die. Now, the die is an individual die, so let me show you that really quick. So it is an individual die where you have some of your hearts, they're going to be solid, and then you have some outlines of hearts. Now, some places it's not connected, so you can use this all as one piece on your card front, or you can separate it in pieces. So actually, one of the cards that we're going to do, I am using this die, but I'm only going to use a portion of it, and I'm going to kind of split it up. But what's nice is all these little hearts in here that pop out, you can then use them as embellishment, and that's what I'm going to do on both of my cards. So the cards that I'm making, as far as embellishment goes, we're going to use the die cut hearts, and we're going to add Wink of Stella to them. So there's not a whole lot of lift on these cards, so they're perfect for putting in the mail and not messing up, when it goes through that whole that postal machine. So I want to show you how we're going to do that. Along with this, I believe this at the time it started out, I think it may have been additional Sale-A-Bration items because this was in the catalog that January to June. I'm trying to think if this was one that it was an additional item that you can get like part of the way through uh, the what do you call it, the Sale-A-Bration promotion. So this is the story story. It's story something punch, and of course I didn't label this. Hold on one second. I want to give you the right name to this. Um, I think it is it story. Okay. I am so unprepared and okay, this is called the story label punch. I really do need to label some of these punches as I'm using them. So this particular punch, it was not bundled in with this bundle here. It was something separate, but they did have a stamp image here that works with this punch. So we're actually going to use this punch as well in one of our cards. So with that, let's get started on the project. So typically, I would do a little bit of housekeeping stuff ahead of time, just kind of let you know what's going on, what's happening, promotions, and all that other stuff. I am going to actually save that for tomorrow night when I do my Friday Night Live. I do those at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time right here on this channel. I do come on just a little bit earlier because I do need to set up all the video details and things like that. Can't schedule because I don't know what's up with YouTube, but it just messes everything up after I've set it up. And so I just basically have to come on a little bit earlier and get that all set up with the pictures and the description and all that wonderful stuff. So I hope that you will join me for that. We'll be doing another Valentine project, and it's actually going to be a bundle that is in our current Sale-A-Bration offering. So again, like all the housekeeping stuff, the promotions, the things that are going on and all that, I will do that tomorrow night instead of doing it in this video, okay? But I will mention that in the description of the video. Now, if you are interested in receiving my newsletter, I typically send that newsletter the first Tuesday of each month. The reason why it's not on the first is because I like to include in my newsletter the 2 or 3 new kits that Stampin' Up! Comes out with each month. So that way I can include the picture, the description, and everything like that in there so you know what's new that's come out. Also, in my newsletter, I do have like a video schedule. So I have everything listed there for the month of February. I just sent it out this past Tuesday. Everything that I'm using product wise, bundles, stamp sets, whatever it may be, what I'm using for my Throwback Thursdays, what I'm using for my Friday Night Lives. And then there's also something in there about the paper pumpkin kit that comes out. So anything that I'm doing, anything that Stampin' Up! Is offering, that's what I have in my newsletter. So the newsletter, basically anybody can subscribe to my newsletter. Just know that if you are in another country and you wanted to purchase any of the products, you wouldn't be able to purchase it through me. You would actually have to purchase it through a demonstrator that would not necessarily be in your area, but in your country or the market that Stampin' Up! Is in. Uh, so if you're interested in that, that link is in the description of the video. When you click on that link, it's just going to ask for your name and email address. And since it's still early in the month, I will then email to you the newsletter I just sent out. Now, the newsletter, I will tell you, I typically only send one a month, so I'm not going to bombard you with a bunch of emails throughout the month. The only time I would send an additional one is if, say, in the middle of the month, Stampin' Up! Came up with another promotion, say something like, free shipping or something like, something along. I'm not saying that that's what's happened in the middle of the month, because we never know at the, until when it's almost on top of whatever that offering's going to be. But then that's the time that I would send another one, is to let you know that there's like a limited time promotion or something that's coming up. So other than that, it's usually just one. So if you subscribe to it, I will send you that one, and then you're on the list, and then I can send you the ones for each month. So let's get started. Let's stop talking. Let's get started and kind of like get the cards done. So one of the things that I will admit to this was there was just bits and parts of this bundle that I had used in the past. So like when it came out again, this came out in the January to June 2020 catalog. And I had found that trying to use all the elements in this bundle, I actually had a hard time kind of putting it all together. So typically the Thursday videos, when I pre-record them, I will have them done ahead of time, and I'd have it scheduled to post at 5 a.m. Central Standard Time on my channel. Well, this is actually posting almost near the end of Thursday the 6th, but I'm still going to make it on Thursday on getting it posted. So I apologize for those that you were kind of looking for it earlier. If you're someone that follows me, it's just sometimes it's a struggle on coming up with ideas of what I'm going to do. Now, for example, what I'm going to do tomorrow night, I don't have those projects planned yet, but I have seen so many beautiful samples using it, so I should be able to get those all put together and have everything done and ready for tomorrow night. So let me grab a ruler really, really quick, because I did not pre-type any dimensions out. Let's see. Usually I also have everything right here. One of the things that would drive me crazy is not having everything I need and being prepared for my video, but I apologize. I just feel like I'm not really prepared, but we're going to wing it anyway. So for my card base, this is Pretty in Pink. It's 8.5 by 5.5. I've scored it at 4.25. I have a piece of basic white. This measures 5.25 by 4, and ahead of time I had embossed it using this really large Forever Plaid 3D embossing folder. This was in our it just retired, our past holiday mini catalog, and this has carried over. You will find this listed in our online exclusives, so it's not in a catalog. I don't know if this will be in the new annual catalog that comes out, I think, ooh, do I want to say the end of April, early May, near the beginning of May? But you can still get this embossing folder, and you can find it in the online store. So there will be a link in the description that will take you to that. Okay, so that's been embossed. Then I have two pieces of Melon Mambo. Each one of these measures 3 1/8 by 1 3/8. So there's two of those. And then I have two pieces of basic white. These each measure 3 inches by 1 1/4. Okay, so let me bring in my bone folder so we can fold and burnish this card base. Pretty in Pink was the color that Stampin' Up! Had as a core color like many years ago. It was actually a color that was out when I first joined Stampin' Up! And that was back in 2013. I think it was 2013, or maybe it was earlier than that. I was introduced to Stampin' Up! Like back in, I want to say it was like back in 2007, and that's when this color was out. So the color had long retired, and it came out last year in our annual catalog. So this is part of the 5 new in colors that came in with that catalog. So this particular in color is actually, when this catalog retires, the annual catalog, this along with the 4 other colors are going to carry over for another year. And then there's a set of in colors that we currently have: boho blue, copper clay, wild wheat, but I should do it in order, right? So it's copper clay, wild wheat, boho blue, pebbled path, and what's the other one? Shoot, guys, I hate when this happens. I really hate when this happens. Hold on. Moody, sorry about that. I had to look in the cabinet. Moody Mauve, that's the other color. So those 5 in colors are the ones that are going to retire when that annual catalog retires in a few months. So any of those in color items like cardstock, ink pads, reinkers, markers, that kind of stuff, if you want it, don't wait till the last minute, because these are things that as you get closer, they will sell out and then they won't be replenished, okay? So this is Pretty in Pink. So they decided to bring it back as an in color. So I am going to take this embossed panel here. I'm going to bring in my liquid glue. I'll make sure my card's in the right direction. I'm going to add some glue in the back of this. This is the Tombow multi-purpose glue that we sell in our catalog. I just have it in this fine tip glue bottle. Now the thing with this glue, if you didn't know, it has a latex in it. So really with this glue, it's not like your regular white glue. This is really going to stick everything really, really well. And so you really don't need a whole lot of it. So I put it in that fine tip glue bottle, only because I don't need a whole lot to put, my cardstock pieces together. Now that bottle, I did get that off of Amazon. There's a link for it below in the description. You do get like a package of 10 of them. So it works really well for me because, again, you don't need a whole lot. Okay, so then on these 2 pieces of basic white, I'm going to do some stamping. So I am going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat, because being that this is a photopolymer stamp set, there's no foam cushion on it like what you see on the red rubber stamps. So I'm going to bring in the greeting that says Happy Valentine's Day. And then there are, also in the stamp set, there are these flower images. So let me show you what they look like. So these ones right here. So I'm going to use all 3 of those, and then this Happy Valentine's Day. The colors of ink that I'm going to use for this. So for my greeting, I am going to use Melon Mambo. And then when I do my flowers, I'm going to be using the Real Red, Pretty in Pink, and the Melon Mambo on that. So I'm going to start off with the greeting first. I'm going to ink this up. Make sure that I have it good and inked up. And then I'm going to stamp this right up near the top here. So I have this stamped on the long way here. Okay, and then I'll put that aside. And then I'm going to bring in some scrap paper because we'll be stamping off a bit on this piece of cardstock. So I am going to start off with my Pretty in Pink. And I am going to stamp this larger flower randomly on this piece. Now, what I do want, you know, this ink pad is really inky. And so I have to press that ink down. And because what happens when you ink it up, you start to see that the ink looks a little bubbly. That's just because it's really inky. So to get a nice clean stamped image, you want to press that ink into the ink pad. Now, if you find, especially if you when you buy a new stamp pad, they are very inky. If you find that after using, like, say, the back of a spoon to press the ink in, that it's still too inky, then you can take a paper towel and you can soak up some of that ink, and then that way you'll have a good stamped image. So I'm going to ink this up again, and I'm just going to add some random stamps of this flower. And because it's as big as it is and the cardstock isn't really all that big, you know, it's not that all that big, these are getting stamped off. Okay, and then let's close that up. And then I'm going to take my medium flower and I put my finger in the ink. And then with this, I'm going to ink this up. And I'm going to kind of come in between here and kind of fill in. And I'm not worrying about the fact that I'm overlapping this a bit. Okay, and then let's close this up. And then with my Real Red, I'm going to stamp the smaller flower, but what I'm going to do with this, because red is such a dark color, it's darker than this Melon Mambo. Now these colors here, they are going to dry a little bit lighter, but because red is such a bold color, I'm going to stamp it off, and then I'm just going to stamp in these white spaces just to kind of fill that in. So I'm stamping off and then just stamping over those open spots. So basically I'm making my own DSP on this. And then we'll fill in like right over here. Okay, so there is that piece. And let me close this all up, kind of get it out of the way. And let me clean off these stamps because there's ink that's all over the blocks. And of course, when it comes to red ink or pink ink, you're bound to either get it on your cardstock or you're going to get it on your fingers. So let me quickly go and clean these, and I apologize if the camera's shaking. It is in a holder that is clamped to this desk. Okay, and then we got one more. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to take my liquid glue again, And I'm going to take these pieces and I'm going to adhere them to these two Melon Mambo pieces. I'm going to center that. Okay. So there's just that little itty bitty border. And then I'm going to take this piece that we stamped with all these flowers. And then I'm going to adhere that to this piece. And make sure that we got it centered. Okay. And we'll close this for the time being. All right, so then on my Happy Valentine's Day, now that I put the glue back and I needed it, I'm going to add some glue to the back of this. And then I'm going to place this over on this left side. So I'm going to come in here, come down a little bit, and try and get this straight. The lines that are in this embossing folder, they're just a little bit wavy, so it's hard to line it up with that. So I'm trying to look at that edge of the card, and it looks like my Melon Mambo cardstock wasn't cut even, but most of that's going to be covered. So then on this piece, I'm going to bring in some dimensionals. Now on my dimensionals, I have all these edge pieces on here, so I'm going to use those. I'm going to add some to the back of the other piece. Okay. All right, and then I'm going to take this, and I want to apologize in advance if you're hearing noises. That would be coming from the bathroom that way. If you follow me on my Friday night lives, I have talked about what's going on with that. So things are going, and the neighbor upstairs is just making a bunch of racket. So you can hear it because there's actually a chunk of the ceiling cut out because there was a leak. So, but again, I've talked about that on previous Friday Night Lives, and I'll probably make an mention an update on that tomorrow night. So all right, so then this is the Pretty in Pink bordered ribbon. This we do have in our annual catalog. This ribbon is pretty thin, has this really nice double stitching on there, if you can see that, and it's not all blurry. This comes in each of those new in colors. Okay, where's my other end? Okay, we don't need a really big bow. Okay, let's pull this one down a little bit. Okay, and then let's trim these tails some. Okay. And let's put those over there. We're done with that. Okay, and then I want to bring in my glue dots. And when I'm adhering bows to my projects, instead of putting one glue dot on the back on the knot here, I like to put one on either side of this knot. So there's just a little bit more adhesive holding my bow down so it doesn't easily fall off. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to add this up in this corner right here. All right, now one of the things that I had done ahead of time, I had used, I like to do like my die cutting, and whether if I'm doing like any embossing and stuff, I like to do that ahead of time. It kind of saves a little bit of time on the video. So ahead of time, I had used that Detailed Hearts die that I had just showed you. And I had die cut that out of a piece of pretty in pink and white cardstock. So this is another thing when you use that, if you don't use the actual complete, die cut piece, you can die cut it. You can get all this little heart die cuts. You can use this kind of like as embellishments. You can also use this as a filler to do a shaker card as well. So a lot of different uses for that background die. That's what I'm calling it, because it's just one full die. So I'm going to bring in my glue. I'm going to bring in my Take Your Pick tool. And I'm going to add some of these hearts onto my card. So I'm going to add a little drop of glue in a few spots. Just add a few here. Okay. Whoops, that don't go on there. So instead of using rhinestones or something, we're going to use these. So there's a couple of a few different sizes in here. So I'm just going to take some, and I'm going to go with the larger ones and the medium-sized ones. Let's see, we got another one right here. And I'm not worrying about putting these straight. I'm just basically throwing them on, so they're just on here kind of random. And then we're going to take a larger one. We'll add that right here. And we got a smaller one right here. We'll add that one right there. Let's see, we'll take another larger one. We'll put that there, and then let's get one of these medium-sized ones. And we'll place that one right there. So we basically have added our own little bit of confetti embellishment on here. And actually I'm going to take another one. I'm going to add a smaller one like right over here, just to kind of fill in that space a little bit. So I'm going to take one of these smaller ones, and I'm going to add that one right there. Just hold it down a little bit. Now I'm going to take all of these. I'm going to throw them back in the little bin that I have sitting over here with all of my supplies for tonight's projects, or today's projects. Just pick these all up while I'm holding this down, just to make sure it's stuck and it doesn't come up and get stuck to my finger when I go to lift my finger. Okay, so let's just get those out of the way. All right, so now to really make these look like they would be an embellishment, I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella. Whoops, wrong one. And we're going to add some Wink of Stella onto all of these hearts. So I'm just going to brush some on the hearts, just add some sparkle to those. So this card, it's just a very simple layout. And by using these heart die cuts as my embellishment, really the only bulky thing on here is that bow, but it's the ribbon's not a thick, heavy ribbon, so the bows, they tie nicely, and it doesn't add a whole lot of bulk, so you can easily take this card and stick it in an envelope and just need that one stamp on it. Okay, then we got one more right here. Okay. And of course, if you wanted to add some rhinestones to it, you could do that too. But there we go. There is the first card. Pretty simple, pretty quick to go together. And something like this too, you can do different color combinations. You can use a different greeting. You know, if you got a long greeting, you can use something different. Just change up the colors, and any little die cuts too, you can use on the background as well. So there is our first card. Now, for the second card, I did a lot of stuff ahead of time on this one. So this one, I actually did a little bit of watercoloring on this one. And again, because of the time and everything, and of course, when you do watercolor, you gotta let it dry. Um, I did it earlier, so just to show you kind of like what I used and all that. So I have a piece of real red. This is 8.5 by 5.5, scored at 4.25. I have a piece of that pretty in pink. This is 5.25 by 4. I took out of a scrap piece of basic white. I punched out one of these. What is it? It's the story label punch. So I had punched that out ahead of time. And then this is a piece of our Fluid 100 watercolor paper. We have this in our annual catalog. So I had die cut it using the second largest rectangle stitched die, and these are been retired for a bit, but I really love those dies. So the second largest one, I die cut that piece of the watercolor paper, and then I had wet it down with one of my larger brushes, and I used a block, so you can use one of your acrylic stamping blocks. I added a couple of drops of pretty in pink inker, and then a couple of drops of real red inker, re-inker. A lot of words. And I had done the pretty in pink up near the top, and then did the real red on the bottom, and then I just let it air dry. Now, if you were to use your heat tool to dry this, what would happen, areas where it would be wet, of course, you would have like all these little streams of the color, but I just added the water, added the color, and then I just let it sit and I let it dry. Okay, and then one of the things, like I said, that I did ahead of time and where I mentioned about the die. So this is part of the die that I die cut out. So this is basic white cardstock. Ahead of time, I had, well, stop with the ahead of time. So I had taken this piece of basic white cardstock. I used some of our adhesive sheet on the back of it. I ran it through my die cut machine, and there was more to this die, but I cut a part of it off to use on my sample card. So this is what's left of it. And so I'm going to cut out a couple of pieces off of this to then adhere that onto my piece of my watercolor paper. Now, you can use glue on this, but I find that, some of these solid hearts that, it would be easy, but just trying to add a little bit on some of these other pieces here, and not have too much glue, and that way it's also stuck down. I just found that it was easier to use the adhesive sheet. So I'm going to take my card base, I'm going to fold and burnish that. Okay. And then I am going to glue down this piece of Pretty in Pink. This bottle is almost empty. Okay, and I'll center that right here on my card base. Now, in that rectangle stitch dies, there's the largest one, which is a little bit bigger than this. It's actually it's very close to the size of this Pretty in Pink size, which is 5¼ by 4. Okay, and then on this piece here, I'm going to bring in another ribbon. This one is retired. This is the black and white gingham ribbon. We do currently have let me show you, I have it right here. We currently have, this is the black and very vanilla large check ribbon. So you can see it is wider, and again, that's very vanilla and black rather than the black and white. Okay. So then on this, I am going to cut a piece that's going to be long enough because I'm going to wrap this around this die cut piece here. And then I also want to create a bow. I'm making these loops a little bit larger. Okay. And then I'm going to trim ends of this. Like so. Make this a little bit shorter. Okay. So let's put that aside. Then I'm going to bring in some Scotch tape, and so instead of wrapping this around this piece and then tying a bow, I just find that this is going to be a little bit easier. So I'm going to center this, or come close to centering it. Add a piece of tape on the back here to hold that ribbon in place. Grab another piece. And actually, you know what? I need to do something before I completely adhere that down. Almost forgot what I was doing. Okay, So this piece here that I told you that I had die cut ahead of time. So I am going to kind of separate a couple of pieces on here. Okay, and this one has one of the little hearts in it. So I'm going to take this piece right here. I'm going to, let's see, I do want to have a little bit of a solid heart that I can color in. So I want to add this one kind of in the middle. Now most of this is going to be covered when I put the greeting on there. All right, so then I want to take this piece here. I'm going to add this, let's see, right down here like so. Just going to stick that down. Now I got to press this down a little bit harder. Let's see, what other piece do we want to cut from here? Let's see. Let's take right here. Okay, so now that's extra. And then this, let's poke out. Now these pieces here, you can leave them in if you want. And then I'm going to take this one and I'm going to add that up here. I'm going to press this down. Make sure that it's stuck down. Okay, and then I'm going to take my ribbon, excuse me. Okay, get another piece of tape. And let's wrap this around and then tape this down like so. Okay, then I'm going to use my glue. Now when you use watercolor paper, because of using the water, it is going to warp the paper. So I'm going to use my liquid glue to adhere this down. Okay, so this is going to be centered on this panel here. And then what I'm going to do, I have this really large, this is the F acrylic block. I'm going to set that aside and I'm going to place that block right on top of that. So that way it kind of holds it down. So it's down flat and it's stuck to the card base. So I'll set that aside, and of course the light reflects off of it a little bit. I'm going to put that aside. We'll close up our glue since we are done with the glue. Okay, I'm going to bring in my Stampin' Pierce mat. And then I am going to bring in the stamp that says, "Our hearts are meant to be together." That's this one right here. And let me get a block for it. And then for this, I'm going to stamp this in real red. Okay. Pick this up. Right, I'm going to move this up a little bit so that way I'm in the camera. And I'm going to stamp that in the center. Hopefully I got it straight. Okay, there we go. Set that aside. Now, when you stamp on basic white, the basic white cardstock has a bit of a, like a shiny coating on it. So I'm going to let that dry just a little bit before I touch it, so that way I don't smear any of that ink. So I'm going to clean my block really quick, or clean my stamp actually. Okay, and when I watercolored, evidently I got some on my table. I just noticed that. Okay, so then let's bring this in, and then our greeting. Let me move this out of the way because I know the light's going to hit that and it's going to glare off of that. So I'm going to bring in my dimensionals, and I'm going to add some on the back of this. So I'm going to put one on the top and bottom of this. Okay. Take these off. And then I'm going to place this right over my ribbons. I want to try and get this centered. Okay, I'll stick that down. And then I'm going to bring in my glue dots. And I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to add a glue dot on either side of that knot. So it's going to be more on the bow part. Okay, and then I'm going to add that right over to the left side of my label there. Okay, and then I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to bring in some of these pink hearts, and I want some large ones, I want some medium ones. Okay, I think we're good on those. Let's see. All right, so let me get my glue. And we're going to add a couple over here. Let's see, we'll do one more down over here. All right, so take your pick tool. We're going to put this one right over here. Take another one. And I stuck my finger in the glue. That wasn't smart. Because I got glue on my fingers, it's touching this stuff, and of course it's leaving some glue on there. So now let me add these hearts. got this one right here. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to bring in my Wink of Stella. And let me close up my glue really quick. And this time I'm not only going to go over these pink hearts that I just added, I'm also going to color over those solid white hearts from that detailed hearts die pieces that I had cut out. Okay, and then we got this one down here. Let's see, did I have a solid one over here? No, I had one here though. Okay, and then we have the 3 pink ones down here. Okay, and again, you can add rhinestones to this as well, or sequins or something, a little more sparkle if you wanted to. So there is our second card. So let me bring in the first one that we did. So we did this, both of them pretty much have a really simple layout to them. One, I really used that detailed hearts die, and I just cut it up to put it on here because the whole entire piece pretty much would take up the whole size of this die cut piece of watercolor paper. So I decided instead of using the whole thing, I was only going to use a partial pieces of it, and then I just separated it a little bit and randomly put it on the background, and of course added some bling to it by using the Wink of Stella. And then on my first card, a simple layout, and again, instead of adding rhinestones or whatever, I utilized the die cut pieces of the pretty and pink hearts and just added some Wink of Stella to them, and then basically created my own designer series paper just by using the stamps. So if you like the projects that I have made for this episode of Throwback Thursday, again, Throwback Thursday is where I pull out my retired stash and I use it. I've had really good feedback on doing the Throwback Thursdays. A lot of people tend to have these products, and this gives them a little more inspiration to then pull it out and play with it again. Um, so this being a Valentine's one. Now this bundle again, this was in our January to June 2020 mini catalog. So if you like the projects, please give the video a thumbs up. And if you haven't already done so, if you're new to my channel, please subscribe to the channel, and then also hit the little notification bell that will let you know when I post a new video, and it will also alert you when I go live as well. It's kind of hard to already set up and kind of schedule my lives, only because there's been issues with YouTube that it's not keeping the settings that I set it up for when I go to do my lives. So, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done so. When you comment, when you share, when you subscribe, and of course, when I add more video content, it does help. YouTube puts my videos out there for other craft-minded viewers, and every little thing does help. Again, I will be going live tomorrow night, Friday, February 7th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. And I will be using, and I can show you, I have it right here. I will be using the heart-shaped bundle. This is a bundle that is one of the Sale-A-Bration offerings. So I will be using this tomorrow night. So if you can make it, please join us. What I do at the end of my Friday Night Lives, I have a wheel of names that I do. So everyone who is here with me live, uh, we add your name to a spreadsheet. I add it to my wheel of names, and at the end, I spin the wheel for 3 people to receive one of the cards that I make that in that particular video. And so if you'd like to join us, we would love to have you. And of course, if you watch it on the replay, I thank you for that too. The views and everything, all of that really does help, not only in growing this channel, but it also helps me in building my Stampin' Up! Business. So come tomorrow when I do that Friday Night Live, that will actually be 205 videos that I have here on my channel at the moment. So the channel is growing and there's lots of content that's out there. I have things separated. If you click on the playlist, I have my Throwback Thursdays. I have my Friday Night Lives. I have my paper pumpkins. There's a playlist for that. I also have, in the very beginning, I did Step It Up Saturday. Before I was able to do lives, I did pre-recorded Step It Up Saturdays using current product at that time. And then there's also some holiday videos as well in there. Oh, and then there's also monthly Christmas card inspiration too. And I just posted one on the 1st of this month. So lots of content out there. See if there's anything that maybe you have in your stash and maybe it'll give you a little bit of inspiration. So thank you again, everybody, for joining me for my Throwback Thursday. Of course, it's unlisted, so nobody's on here with me. But as you know, you've come on and you've watched, so I thank you. So everyone, hope to see you tomorrow night, and everyone be safe, be warm. Um, if you're in an area where it's going to be really cold, and everyone have a blessed one, and I will see you in the next one. Bye bye.